Welcome to the deep dive. We're jumping straight into something pretty extraordinary today.
They really are. It's the complete forecast for Aries for May 2025.
And it's direct from our friend Lorenzo. Yeah, the astrologer, tarot reader, prophet, really. Incredibly gifted.
Oh, absolutely. And we know Lorenzo, we know his work. For anyone new to him, his insights, well, they just land. Often with this uncanny precision.
Exactly. So what we're doing today is sharing his entire forecast for Aries, May 2025. Verbatim. No interpretation from us, no omissions, just Lorenzo's words.
And it's intense. He's predicting a really transformative month for Aries.
Yeah, he titled it, Reclaiming the Fire. Money, voice, identity, and the death of ego illusions.
Yeah.
Right from the start, it's powerful. He writes, and I'm quoting Lorenzo directly here, you aren't finding yourself, you're forging yourself.
Wow.
May 2025 hits your chart like a meteor ripping through your finances, your confidence, your voice, and finally, your very identity.
A meteor. Yeah, that sounds about right for his style. Intense.
This is your cosmic crucible. No more chasing validation, no more bluffing. This is wealth with spine, power with soul, and truth with bite.
So right away, this isn't going to be some gentle, easy month. That cosmic crucible image really sets the stage.
Definitely. It's about actively making yourself,
Yeah.
not just, discovering who you are passively.
Which feels relevant even if you're not an Aries, honestly. Anyone going through big shifts might connect with that.
Totally. Okay, so let's get into week one. This covers April 28th to May 5th. Lorenzo calls it money karma, desire versus destruction. You must choose.
Oof, heavy start.
Right. He begins with the new moon in Taurus on April 28th. He says it should have been a money blessing, but...
There's always a but with these intense transits.
Exactly. He says it's complicated. There's a triple square to Mars in the 5th house, Pluto in the 11th, and Lilith in the 8th.
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit. You've got the new moon, normally fresh starts, right? In Taurus, which is often about money, value, stability.
Yeah.
But squaring Mars in the 5th, that's creativity, ego, maybe even romance or kids. Pluto in the 11th, that's deep transformation in your social groups, your big dreams. And Lilith in the 8th. Wow. That's raw power, intimacy, shared resources, secrets.
So that money blessing gets tangled up in all these other intense areas. Lorenzo points to financial control games possibly showing up, maybe with partners, close friends.
Makes sense. That 8th house Lilith connection especially. And Pluto in the 11th, power dynamics within groups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he really focuses on how this tests your self-worth, like beyond the money itself. He puts it so bluntly. You can't afford to be performative anymore. Either your power is real or you get eaten.
Whew. Stark choice. And knowing Lorenzo's work, he means that literally, energetically speaking.
Absolutely. And this ties right into Pluto turning retrograde on May 5th in that 11th house of groups and hopes.
Right. Pluto retrogrades always feel like this deep internal excavation. And in the 11th house,
Lorenzo says, time to purge fake community, borrowed goals, and ego-driven ambitions.
it's that inward look, isn't it? Really asking if your connections and goals are authentic.
Exactly. Purging the fakeness. And that shift he mentioned,
Yeah.
from just wanting fame, like external validation, to demanding legacy, something lasting, something real, that feels like the core of Pluto's work here.
Definitely. Okay, moving into week 2, May 6th to 13th. Lorenzo's title, The Ego Dies, The Soul Speaks.
The intensity just keeps building, doesn't it?
It really does. So May 6th to 10th, Venus and Mercury are in Aries. Lorenzo says this empowers the voice, which sounds good for Aries.
Yeah, Venus brings charm, Mercury clarity right in their home sign. Should feel quite potent.
But then Mercury moves into Taurus, and he says this creates tension. A war between self-worth and financial limitation.
Ah, okay. So wanting to speak out, be bold, but maybe feeling held back by money worries or perceived value. That kind of clash.
Seems like it. And Lorenzo gives us really practical advice. Don't overspend to feel seen. Don't undercharge to feel liked. Oh, that's a classic trap. So easy to fall into. Equating your worth with dollars, one way or the other.
Right. Then May 12th, Mercury squares Pluto. Lorenzo warns, a financial conversation turns brutal.
Uh-oh. Mercury-Pluto squares can be intense. Power struggles in communication.
He says, someone may try to shame you for demanding more.
Yeah.
Let them. This is your final test of self-worth. It sounds confrontational.
It does. Pluto brings up hidden stuff, power dynamics. Mercury is communication. So yeah, a tough conversation, possibly digging into deep-seated issues around value and money shame.
And then May 13th brings the full moon in Scorpio. It's opposing Uranus in the second house.
Scorpio, full moon in the 8th house, opposing Uranus in the 2nd. Okay, that's volatility right there. Full moons bring culminations. Scorpio's deep, intense shared resources. Uranus is sudden shocks.
Lorenzo calls it a moment of sudden money shock or breakthrough. Could go either way, it seems. Liberation or disruption.
But he notes a positive aspect too, right? A trine.
Yes, a trine to Saturn and the North Node both in the 12th house.
Yeah.
Lorenzo sees this as really significant.
Okay, Saturn brings structure, lessons. North Node is destiny, path forward. The 12th is the subconscious, karma, endings.
He interprets it as the deep wound is releasing, and he calls it a wealth initiation. But there's a condition.
Always a condition with these big shifts. What is it?
It only comes if you face your biggest fear. Trusting your power without control.
Ah, letting go. Trusting your inherent value instead of trying to manipulate or force outcomes. That's deep 12th housework.
Totally. And the emotional stuff you mentioned surfacing. Sexual trauma, abandonment fears, money, shame all come up.
Wow.
And finally, you bury them. You're no longer owned by survival patterns. You start magnetizing, not chasing. That sounds like a huge release.
A major energetic clearing, like shedding old skins related to power, intimacy, and worth. Okay, that leads us into week 3, May 14th to 20th.
Lorenzo titles this one, Public Persona versus Private Worth.
The theme continues, that internal versus external value.
Right. May 17th, Sun conjunct Uranus in the second house. Sun is identity, Uranus is sudden change, second is money and values.
So another potential financial shakeup. Lorenzo mentions.
Financial liberation or blow up. Things like maybe quitting a job suddenly, raising rates dramatically, or cutting ties with people who don't value you. Big, sudden moves.
That Uranus energy is unmistakable, unexpected, freeing, but potentially disruptive.
Then May 18th, Mercury squares Mars. He calls this a war of words around money, creativity, or recognition.
Mercury communication, Mars assertion. Yeah, a square means conflict, arguments, debates.
But Lorenzo reframes it. He says it's a rite of passage. Speak up, even if your voice shakes.
So it's not just conflict for conflict's sake. It's a necessary step, finding your voice through the challenge. I like that.
Me too. And the weekends, May 20th, with the sun moving into Gemini, the third house, Lorenzo says, your voice becomes your sword.
Ah, Gemini, communication central. And the third house rules communication too. Plus a supportive aspect to Saturn.
Yeah, a sextile to Saturn. He says Saturn as weight, structure. It's moving from talking to be liked to talking to command, a real shift in vocal authority.
Okay, that feels like a powerful culmination for the week. Voice becoming a tool of command, not just connection.
Exactly. Which takes us to week 4, May 21st to 27th. Legacy through voice, the resurrection of self.
Resurrection. Wow. Big words.
He points to this amazing alignment. Sun, Mercury, Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, all in harmonious aspects. Across the first house, self, third, communication, 10th, career public image, and 11th, community future.
That's a lot of major planets working together across key areas of life. That sounds like significant integration.
Lorenzo says, this is download meets execution. You're no longer just passionate, you're strategic, poetic, and unstoppable. It's like all the pieces clicking into place.
Insight combined with action across multiple life areas. That's powerful.
And then May 26th, this is huge. Saturn enters Aries, the first house, for the first time since 1996.
Whoa. Okay, Saturn entering your sign, especially the first house of identity, that's a massive astrological event. A Saturn return for some, or just a major life chapter beginning?
Lorenzo calls it your official initiation into true adulthood, spiritual leadership, and self-mastery.
Makes total sense. Saturn is about maturity, responsibility, mastery.
And listen to this. Every mistake, heartbreak, and humiliation now gets recycled into respect, authority, and clarity.
That's the alchemy of Saturn, turning hard-won experience into solid strength. Lorenzo captures that so well.
He also notes Mercury entering Gemini around this time, making good aspects to Saturn and Neptune in Aries.
So reinforcing that empowered voice theme again.
Totally. Lorenzo says, your voice becomes law, your ideas become systems, your wounds become wisdom. It's like communication becomes incredibly potent and constructive.
Everything building towards this empowered authoritative expression. Okay, final days. May 28th to 31st.
Lorenzo calls this the revelation hits. You're not who you were. Dramatic.
He doesn't do subtle, does he?
Not Lorenzo. He highlights the new moon in Gemini on May 28th. It's conjunct Mercury, aspecting Saturn, Neptune, Pluto positively.
New moon in Gemini, ruled by Mercury, conjunct Mercury, that's communication squared, plus all those supportive links.
He calls it the download of a lifetime. A pitch, a podcast, a contract, a statement, or a story. changes your path forever.
So some form of communication has massive life-altering potential right then.
Seems like it. And on May 30th, Sun conjunct Mercury in Gemini. Lorenzo's directive is clear. Say it, post it, declare it.
Get it out there.
This is not a blog post, it's a manifesto.
Okay. Bold, decisive declaration, no holding back. It feels like the culmination of the entire month's journey.
Absolutely. Now, Lorenzo offers what he calls the nuance everyone misses. The wow.
Ah, I love these bits from him. What is it?
He says, May 2025 isn't about finding your voice. That's cute. Typical Lorenzo.
Yes.
This is the month you realize your voice is a weapon, and it can kill off entire versions of you that no longer serve.
Wow. A weapon against your own outdated self. That's a powerful reframe.
Isn't it? He goes on, you're not here to entertain. You're here to peer solutions, to call out the collective delusion, and to claim your truth in public at full volume.
Piercing illusions. That feels very Aries, very direct.
And Saturn in Aries plus the Gemini moon says, your truth is no longer negotiable. Your path is no longer postponed. Your identity is no longer in beta mode.
Beta mode, I like that. Like, done testing. This is the final version launching. Self-sovereignty declared.
Exactly. And then he gave us these viral quote clips, just short, punchy lines that capture the essence. We should read them out.
Definitely. As Lorenzo intended. You go first.
Okay. First one. You're not finding your voice. You're arming it.
Oh. Second. You don't need their applause. You needed your own permission.
Third. You're done chasing success. Now you attract it because your fire speaks first.
Yes. Fourth. May 2025, Aries isn't reborn. Aries remembers who the F they are. He actually put the asterisk, bless him.
He did. And the last one, what they thought was ego was divine war paint.
Divine war paint. Chills. These are so potent. They really nail the energy he's describing.
They really do. Okay, now for the wow W moment. This is where Lorenzo drops a big one.
Lay it on us.
He says, Aries, you are closing a 29-year karmic spiral in 29 days. And if you don't own it, you'll relive it.
Whoa. Okay, the 29-year cycle. That's Saturn again, a Saturn return cycle. Closing a spiral.
He stresses how rare this window is, a Saturn rebirth opportunity. But here's the key insight he shares.
Yeah.
You are not starting a new identity in May. You are being judged on the last one.
Judged. Okay, Saturn as the taskmaster, the judge. So it's an audit.
He calls it a cosmic identity audit, with a brutal message from Saturn. You can't take your old coping mechanisms into your new timeline.
Right. That makes sense. You have to shed the old ways to handle the new level of energy and responsibility Saturn brings. Knowing Lorenzo, that directness feels right.
It does. He spells out what's being stripped away, imposter confidence built on adrenaline and approval.
Seen that.
Inflated egos based on performance, not truth.
Yep.
False fires, meaning rage, horniness, and rebellion, used to mask deeper grief or fear of being seen.
Wow. Calling out the shadow motivations and what's being forged instead.
A voice that cuts, not pleases.
Okay.
A body that leads, not reacts.
Oh, powerful shift.
A soul that commands respect without needing a stage.
It's a total recalibration. Internal authority, not external performance. Deep stuff.
Deep stuff. Then Lorenzo points out the true transit no one sees. He focuses on that Gemini new moon on May 28th again.
What's the hidden layer?
He says it's not just about communication. It's a mercurial crowning of the Saturnian authority you earned in the weeks prior.
Ah, so the communication isn't just talk, it's the expression of the authority gained through the Saturn transit. The crown fits, so to speak.
Exactly. And the warning. The one who speaks clearly rules. And if you say the wrong thing out of ego or fear, you burn your own kingdom down.
Huge responsibility comes with that voice then. Use it wisely. Align with that earned Saturnian integrity. Not from ego. Got it.
Right. Finally, he shares the spiritual nuance that blows this open.
Okay, the deepest layer.
He points out 3 distinct fire initiations happening for Aries between late April and late May.
3. What are they?
First, Mars in Leo squaring the Taurus planets. He calls this the warrior is tested.
Okay. Action and ego tested against value and resources. Makes sense.
Second, the Chiron Jupiter-Saturn activation around mid-May, the healer awakens.
Wounded healer energy integrated with expansion and structure.
Yeah. And third, that new moon in Gemini trining Pluto, the messenger is born.
Communicating deep transformation. Wow. So warrior, healer, messenger, all activated intensely in 1 month.
Exactly. He calls the compression of these roles a prophetic activation,
Prophetic activation.
where Aries becomes the vessel of the next version of human courage.
Hmm.
Not just surviving the fire, but transforming through it, embodying all three roles.
That's incredibly profound. Warrior, healer, messenger, all forged together. That's Lorenzo's insight at its best.
It really is. And he wraps it all up with his absolute mic drop line.
Let's hear it.
May 2025 isn't when Aries evolves, it's when Aries is forged into legend. Burn, speak, lead.
Chills. Again, burn, speak, lead. Wow. That's Lorenzo's complete forecast for Aries, May 2025, unfiltered.
Yep, exactly as he gave it. It's incredibly intense, deeply transformative.
It really is. And like we said, even if you're not in Aries, those themes, reclaiming power, speaking truth, letting go of ego, they hit home, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. It really makes you pause and think,
Right.
what ego illusions might I need to let crumble? What needs to die off in my own life so something more authentic, more powerful can actually be forged?
Exactly. Definitely some potent ideas to sit with long after this deep dive.